Hi everyone and welcome to another episode of Enlightened Entrepreneur here on the OK Business Show, and thanks again for joining us. Today's program is sponsored by World Outsourcing Solutions, a company operating in the United Kingdom and specializing in providing virtual employees to business owners here in the UK and around the world. Today I'm very privileged to be hosting Jacqui Mann, who is a human resource expert and has been doing so for over 20 years. Jacqui, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you. It's nice to be invited.
Incredible. Now, Jacqui, I know you're very passionate about human resources. And for those who are not very familiar with what you've done, would you share with us your experience and how you got to where you are today?
Okay, I started my HR career sort of over 20 years ago. I started working in a large retail business, which looked after employees all over the UK. And then I moved into hospitality. Then after that, I went to work in manufacturing, and then decided that I wanted to give up the security of having a good job and start my own business. And that was in 2003.
Yeah, incredible. And you have not looked back ever since?
I haven't, no, I haven't. During that time, I studied and did my qualifications when I was working in the retail sector. So I am a member of the Chartered Institute of Personnel and Development, which is our professional body,
right?
And obviously you need to keep up to date with employment law and everything that's going on with business and people.
Incredible. Now, Jacqui is the founder and the managing director of J. Mann Associates and is known as the People Doctor. Now, Jacqui, would you explain what People Doctor means?
Okay, the P.E.O.P.L.E is an acronym. It stands for my methodology that I use in my business, the People system.
Right.
So People, the P stands for purpose, E stands for environment, O stands for ownership, P stands for progression, L for leadership, and E for engagement. And those are all the things that you need to have in your business to get your people to be doing to ensure that you have the right culture and to turn that culture into a business asset.
Incredible. And one of the reasons we got you on here is you are focused in helping entrepreneurs with employees that range between 10 to 200 and are turning over 6 to 8 figures. Why specifically this group?
I really like working with the entrepreneurs because they're really passionate about what they want to do. They want to get things moving. But often when you're an entrepreneur, you've started on your own. Yes. And you're not always sure how you need to do some things. So, that's why I like working with them. And that's what I am as well. I understand what it feels like
right.
to be that entrepreneur trying to grow your business.
Yes.
I don't like the corporate world particularly. I've been there, done that, and everything takes too long to do. Everything's too slow.
Yes.
Whereas entrepreneurs tend to make decisions much more quickly and want more action.
Absolutely. Well, we are so delighted to have you on the show today, and we've entitled today's interview "The 3 Human Resources Mistakes Every Business Owner Needs to Avoid," and we hope we will be able to cover those ones and share great tips to the owners today. Now, have you had, in your experience, entrepreneurs come to you consistently saying, "Oh, I'm failing on this," and you only pick it up and say, "Oh, it's that"?
Yeah, it's normally the main problem that they tend to have is not being able to recruit the right people.
Right.
So they recruit the wrong people because they think that often nobody can do the job like they can. So they're looking for someone like themselves. Or they think that they've got to pay huge amounts of money to actually get the right person, which is not always the case at all.
Right.
So they don't have any process in place to help them with the recruitment process. And the problem is you get the wrong person in and the whole thing goes pear-shaped. So, to me, that is often the biggest mistake that people make, is that they don't recruit the right people to begin with. They recruit someone because they're breathing often, and not because they are the person that could do the job. So, my advice is that don't take someone if they're not the right person.
That's right.
You need to wait And that can be really hard if you're desperate for someone to help you, but it will only cause you more stress, more grief, more problems if you take on the wrong person, and you need to wait until you find the right person.
Right, right. Now, I know this from experience, because when you're getting started, you want somebody to get in there quick.
Yes, you do, yeah.
And of course, you and I know the consequences, that to then remove that person once they are there is not just as easy as you got them in the first place.
No, it's not as easy, but it can be fairly easy. Depends on how long that person's actually been with you.
Right.
But that's why our clients like working with us, because we look at business. We look at the HR side of it as very commercially focused and very practical, and we need to find a solution. And having the wrong person in the business not only causes you stress and sleepless nights and depresses everyone else. It's so demotivating, but it just drags everything down. And there are ways that you can exit someone from the business quite quickly.
Right.
We're very good at that.
Come on, let's talk about that, because that's very intriguing.
Okay.
Assuming that a business owner have already made this mistake, they've got the wrong person in business,
Yeah.
and they figure out that this is just not working out. How can they go about, letting go of somebody?
Okay, well, depends on how long that person's been with the business. If they've been with the business less than 2 years, then it is much easier. And we would ask the questions whether anyone has got a protected characteristic. So first of all, if they've been with you for over 2 years, they can claim unfair dismissal. If it's less than 2 years, they can't put that claim in. But if they've got a protected characteristic, so that will be dependent on their age, their race, their sexual orientation, so there's 9 protected characteristics altogether. If they haven't got any of those, then you can actually get someone in and say, look, this really isn't working out, and we're going to have to part company and say goodbye, pay them their notice. And there really isn't that much more that they can do unless your employment contract or procedure says differently.
Right.
But we do what we call a people checkup, and we look at all people's documents to make sure that they're protecting themselves and they haven't got anything in there that is going to cause them lots of issues at a later stage and is actually protecting the business. So there is ways to do it. If someone's been with you more than 2 years and you do want to get rid of them, then you can go down the performance route, which can actually take rather a long time. And often it's not fair to the employee, I don't think, because often you can be advised to go down a performance route of, say, 6 months, but at the end of it that actually you aren't going to keep that employee anyway. You've got all that stress to go through of managing their performance. So the easiest way to do that is to have a conversation without prejudice, conversation to see how you can then resolve the issue. And it normally means using a settlement agreement, which will then mean you'll need to pay that person to leave. But the way I try to get business owners to look at it is, if you've got to performance manage someone for 3 to 6 months, you've got to pay their wages for 3 to 6 months anyway. So why not give them a little bit more money at the start, and then everybody goes away happy, really.
Absolutely, yeah, and he won't be stressed out as much.
And I try to get the owner to not look at it as in, well, why should I give them money, this, that, and the other. But you've got to look at it, as from a practical business point of view, and take the emotions out of it. This is going to be the best thing for the business. This is what you need to be looking at doing, and put the personal side to one side.
Absolutely. Now,
easier said than done, of course.
Yes, because it's quite involving. Now, Jacqui, what should business owners do, before they actually make this mistake?
What should they do before they make the mistake of recruiting the wrong person?
Yes.
This is where the people system comes into play, because you need to understand what your purpose is for the business.
Right.
And then that also includes understanding what your values are. So you need to identify your personal values and then the values for the business.
Right.
And then my feeling on this is that then every single thing you do in the business revolves around the purpose and the values of that company.
Okay.
And all successful businesses, you look at Google, Infusionsoft, Zappos, they've all built their businesses around their company values, and that becomes their culture. And I know they're big businesses now, but when they started, they weren't. But they had the foresight to get these things in place at the beginning.
Right.
And then what you do then is, once you know what your company values are, you then create all of your systems and processes around those values. And then when you recruit someone, you recruit using your values. So you would ask questions based around the values of your organisation. And that way you know then if you're going to be getting the right fit for your business. That is the best way to be doing it, because if there's a conflict with values, if their values, their personal values conflict with the business values, then there is going to be conflict. It's just not going to work, that relationship. And that's why when I say, you don't always need to think, I've got to pay people lots of money to get the right person. If you get someone who believes in your values, then money isn't always their motivator. And that is a mistake that business owners make by thinking that people are motivated by money. The majority of people are not motivated by money. They're motivated more by purpose and their fulfillment in what they're doing in their work.
Wow, that's incredible. It really is an eye-opener when you think about it. You can get people lined up with you, same values, and the money issue is not there. It's incredible.
It's not there. No.
Wow.
People want to work for you. If you've got really good values, people want to work in your organisation.
Incredible. Well, let's talk about the next big mistake that business owners make when it comes to human resources.
Okay. That also links back to, purpose.
Right.
Because as the leader of the organisation, of the business, you need to understand your purpose, and then that needs to inspire employees, motivate them, and that often doesn't happen. The employees are not particularly very motivated, and it's not always like a lot of people seem to think it's because we don't pay them enough, they want a pay rise. It's not about that. It is about leadership. They want the leadership. They want to know where the business is going. They need to understand how their particular role fits into it, and also that they've got some sort of progression, they've got ownership of what they do. But they need to know that leader is there. And I've worked in organisations, when I worked in a large corporate, where the leaders don't actually walk the talk, as I would say. There's nice posters and things on the wall to talk about the purpose and the values, but you don't see it. That's where employees get inspired, because they see the owner, the business leader, walking and living the values of the organisation all of the time.
Right. So what I'm getting here is if the leader has no or doesn't paint a good picture of the purpose, it can cause all these problems within the human resource. Am I getting you right?
Yeah, it can do. The leader has got to be strong. They've got to be living the values of the organisation, what they believe in,
right,
so that employees can see that. And then the big key is they have to communicate that, and they have to communicate it over and over and over again. You can't just have a meeting and say, we've all come up with our purpose and our values, and then put the poster on the wall and then just think that's it. That is not it. That is just the very beginning. You've then got to embed that into the organisation, and that's the difficult part, and that's where lots of people give up, because they think, these values, and they don't actually work, because it's hard work, because you have to do it. It has to be in every single thing that you do. So it does make business easier in some ways, because you can have decisions that you need to make within your business become a lot easier if you're making decisions based around your values. Because, we all, as entrepreneurs, get these nice, shiny objects come in front of us that we think, this looks interesting, I'd like to do that. But actually, does it fit with your values? Is it really what you should be doing or where you should be going? And if it doesn't, then you say no. So it does make it easier.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. I'm so delighted that you're sharing this truth, because, from an outsider, or maybe an entrepreneur coming into this for the first time, they don't see how not clarity on purpose and communicating the purpose can affect the the resources aspect of it, because it's not so obvious.
No, it isn't obvious. And I think people think that that's what every business does when they're large, when they become, famous. You look at Disney, they have got some amazing cultures and values that they've got there, but they have to work at it, and they have to work at it really hard. But you have to start off when you're small, because a lot of people say, oh, I don't believe in culture and all this, but actually every business has got a culture, but is it the culture that you want? You can define your own culture, the culture that you want to have. Right. And sometimes when you start to do that, there are people in your business that don't fit that culture, and you do have to say goodbye to, but we can help you with that.
Yes.
But it can make a massive difference when you get that buy-in from people who really understand what the purpose is, where it is that you're trying to get the business to. People want to know, what their contribution is. Not everybody just wants to go to work every day and get paid and then go home. Some people do. I agree with that. Some people do, but most people want to know how they fit into the bigger picture.
Right. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. Talking about what you do, maybe this may be a good spot for us to talk about what you do for businesses here in the UK, and then we move on to the next mistakes that you see business owner make when it comes to this topic. What does your company do for entrepreneurs today, and how can you help them?
Okay, well, we help entrepreneurs create great places to work. And that begins with looking at the people checkup, where we'll look at the foundations of the business, your processes and systems in HR, and looking at what your purpose and your values are. So that's one piece of help that we can give to business owners. We then have our what we call our A&E, which is where if a business owner is looking to develop their culture, then I can go into the business and do an exercise with them and their team around where they are now, where they want to get to. I also interview members of the organisation as well to find out what their feelings are, and then put together like a little roadmap of what needs to happen next. Right. We also have our P.E.O.P.L.E program, which is a 12-month program where entrepreneurs can apply to come onto that program, and we'll go through the whole 12 months looking at how we can improve their culture, and there's different workshops that we hold throughout the 12-month period for that. And then we also offer HR outsourcing. We have an HR expert service, which is telephone and email support. We have a membership site where there's lots of documents and templates for people. And then we have our People Partner service, which provides a web-based HR system, and we are there to provide the outsourcing for you. So if you're taking on a new employee, one of the team will provide the contracts and the offer letters. We'll make sure that we've got absence recorded, holidays are set up. And if you've got any HR issue at all, whether it's around culture, whether it's around absence or dismissals, then we will help you with that. So that's what we're there for as your people partner. And then on the other side of it, we have HR consultancy work, where that might be with mergers, acquisitions, 2P transfers, redundancies. So at the moment I'm working on a 2P project for a business, and this is where often you can have a problem with culture, because if we're going to be transferring employees from one business to another business, they will have a very, very different culture. Right. And often that's missed, and no one looks to say, how are we going to embed these people into our culture, and what can we do for that? So that's another project that we can work on with business owners.
Incredible. One of the projects that really stand out for me as a business owner is the HR outsourcing. Can we talk about that very briefly?
Yes, yeah, of course we can, yeah. So with the HR outsourcing, I say we've got, if you were looking for telephone and email support, and then you want to be able to get access to, template letters, if you're inviting someone to a disciplinary meeting, then we can provide that for you. Right. We will help you, put the letter together. But then we've got lots of people who understand the importance of outsourcing and know that having a professional to employ a good HR person to look after your business, you're looking at 35,000 really to get a decent one who's going to be able to manage your HR for you. Now, not every business can afford that, and actually they don't need to have that person in-house straight away. It's much more cost effective to actually then have someone outsourced. And the beauty of using outsourcing with us is that you've got someone who can look after the admin right the way through to someone like myself who can deal with director level problems as well. So you've got a broad spectrum of the advice that you can get. So you've got much more than if you were recruiting your own one person internally. So we provide the HR web-based system where employees can go on and book holidays. We manage the absence on there. You can run reports off it. So it makes you become much more professional on the HR side. And also it means that by doing that, you're freeing yourself up from being bothered with the day-to-day people problems, and that we can, we're there to help you out and to put your mind at rest, really. And you've got that professional service, which means you can get on running your business, doing the things that you're good at, and leave us to do the HR side.
Incredible. Now, obviously, you've done this for a long time.
Yes.
Since 2003. What stops people from using this service? And that you have.
I think some people don't think they really need it. So what they do, in our experience, is they avoid the people problems. And they say, "Oh, we don't have those problems here," and they do, and that's because they're frightened to face up to it, or they don't like confrontation. They don't want to deal with the problem.
Yes.
Instead, they give themselves too much stress. They don't always see the benefit of outsourcing. They see it as a cost, and how much is that going to cost me? When actually, it's much more of looking at, this is going to give me a professional service and free me up to do the things I'm really good at.
Absolutely.
I personally myself fell foul to that when I first started. I used to do my own bookkeeping and things, and it's ridiculous. Outsource it. I've outsourced a lot of my marketing now because that's not what I'm good at. What I'm good at is looking after the people side, helping business owners create their culture. And that's what really excites me. That's what I like to be doing. Give me a spreadsheet or a computer looking at numbers, it's really quite boring.
And the thing is, you never actually get anything done because it's not your area of speciality. So and the reality is, business owners who are intentional on expanding, really need to be using services like yours because it streamlines everything.
It does. It streamlines everything. You know that you're always up to date. The worst thing, that we see often is people have dabbled on something on the internet. They've copied and pasted something into a contract from someone else. And it's like, why would you do that? Because the thing is, when everything's going fine, it's not a problem. But when the employee relationship goes wrong, that's when we then look at somebody's contract and say, well, why have you got this in here? And it's like, well, because I thought it would be the right thing to do. But, who advised you on my friend down the pub? That's not what you need to be doing. If you're serious about, growing your business, then outsource the HR. Don't try to do it yourself. Or don't give it to finance departments either. I don't know why people do that. Numbers and people just do not go together, But so many businesses do give it to the finance manager or the finance director. And in fact, when I worked in manufacturing, I reported into the finance director at first, and I thought, this is ridiculous, because he's not a people person. He was a numbers person. It's very, very different. Very different.
That's right. Well, and where can people find these details to contact you, to figure out about, or to just inquire about some of your services?
Okay, they can go to our website, which is www.jmassociates.org, and there's lots of details on there. Or you can email us at people@jmassociates.org.
Awesome, incredible.
Or you can call us, which is 01980 622 167.
Can we have that number again, please?
Yes, it's 01980 622 167.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Going back to the mistakes that business owners make when it comes to human resources, is there anything else we have not covered that you feel business owners should know about?
I really can't stress enough the importance of having the foundations at the very beginning.
Right.
What is your basics, which people think, that's really not that important. But making sure you've got a good employment contract in place and you've got some policies and procedures or processes and systems that link into your values. And a lot of people are put off and they go, oh, we don't like rules. You have to have some sort of rules. They don't have to be a novel. We've got one of our clients, they've just got their rules on an A4 sheet of paper. That's it. It depends on the culture of your organisation, what you have. But people like rules. They like to know exactly what can and can't be done. So another way to look at it is, when you've got your values for the organisation, what are the behaviours you expect to see from people? So that people know that people are living by the values. What should you see? What should they be saying? How should they be acting? Right. And that can often, once you've got those in place, can make it easier to have a conversation with someone if they're not doing what you want them to do. So rather than saying, you aren't doing this properly, why aren't you doing these things? It's like, I saw you do X. Do you think that fits with our values? It's much easier to try to help performance manage people if you can do it on the values based, rather than just being critical and taking it personally against someone to say, why did you do that? I don't like what you're doing. Right. Because that doesn't fit with our values.
Makes perfect sense.
It all makes sense, and it all seems quite simple, but it is really difficult to do, and that's why I think a lot of businesses just avoid it. But if you want to grow and you want to be able to have a culture that's going to become an asset, and that culture is going to live on when you're not there, that's what you would need to be aiming to get to.
That's right. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. Well, Jacqui, as we come toward the end of our time together here, what is the right mindset to go into this whole subject we've been talking about today for entrepreneurs?
The right mindset is, you really need to be thinking, what is the actual purpose of our business? What do we want to be doing, and how are we going to achieve that? And then be really open. And it isn't easy, because there's an exercise that I do, which is, where are you now and where do you want to be?
Right.
Because the reason I do that exercise is because then once we know where we are now, where we want to be, what's the gap in the middle, is then going to tell us what the plan is that we need to be working on. And lots of people really want to do, well, where do we want to be? They find that easy, but where are we now? They struggle with that, and that is uncomfortable. So you have to go out of your comfort zone. If you want to change, if you want to create a great culture, you've got to go out of your comfort zone, recognise the things that aren't working particularly well, recognise the things you need to stop and the things that you need to start doing. So that's the mindset I would say that you need to go into. You've got to be going out of your comfort zone and recognising that some things you're doing are not going to be the right things.
Absolutely. Well, Jacqui, thank you so much for a great interview, and I'm sure business owners in our audience have a much clearer understanding of the possible mistakes they may be making when it comes to human resources and how to avoid them. And really appreciate you sharing your expertise and your experiences so graciously.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Incredible. I'm Yokai Kajidori, and thank you so much for listening or watching from wherever you are. And if you've got any questions, please email them to support@World Outsourcing Solutions, or get in touch directly with Jacqui when it comes to the subject we've been talking about today. Jacqui, very briefly, once again, can we have your website address for those who would have missed it?
www.jmassociates.org.
Incredible. And with that said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us, and we wish you all the best, and talk to you again in another episode of